In Tanzania. Lucy, a very good afternoon to you. What has the East African community said about the chances of negotiating peace in Burundi?
Good afternoon. Well, the East African community is pinning its hopes on these peace talks, which, as you heard, will be led by the Ugandan President Museveni next Monday in Kampala. They'll involve the Burundian government, the opposition and civil society groups. This morning, we managed to speak to the Secretary General of the EAC here in Tanzania, who said the problem of violence in Burundi is very serious and needs an urgent solution. He said his organisation has a duty to try to prevent any more loss of innocent life. But of course, it all depends whether President Nkurunziza of Burundi turns up to the talks and is willing to negotiate to stop his country sliding further into a civil war.
Look, Lucy, the African Union is also preparing to send in troops. We know that this was not highly favoured, but how will this then be affected?
Yes, well, this would be the first time the African Union has deployed its forces in a member state against its will. The AU has said it will not allow another genocide to take place on African soil, and it is very worried. AU rights investigators recently returned from Burundi saying they're gravely concerned for civilians. They witnessed arbitrary killings and targeted assassinations with many arrests, detentions and even torture. So, yes, the AU is now preparing to send in 5,000 peacekeeping troops to protect civilians. It gave Burundi 4 days to make a formal response, but the government there has already said it rejects the need for troops and would see any deployment as an attack or invasion.
Look, Lucy, with the history of Burundi and other African countries that are suffering civil war, how likely is it that these talks will be successful?
Well, the EAC mediation has been going on since July, and since then, things have only got worse in Burundi. The United Nations says at least 400 people have died this year, and that the country is on the very cusp of civil war. And more than 220,000 people have fled Burundi. I actually visited the refugee camps in Tanzania and spoke to people who'd escaped across the border, and almost all of those had stories of violence and intimidation. Some had seen family members and neighbours brutally killed, and most said they thought the real death toll must be higher than the official figures. So I think everybody's agreed there needs to be a solution here. People there are very scared because of both what they've seen this year, but also what they remember from the previous civil war in Burundi, which only ended in 2006.
Look, Lucy, before I let you go, a quick one. Why is the Burundian government opposed to the troops? Do we know at this stage?
Well, they say that the main problem is not what's going on in their country, but they accuse Rwandan refugee camps of recruiting and training rebels to go in and, they say, cause more unrest. That's their line, but I think officially, probably because of the situation in Burundi is particularly bad. Most of the international community agrees that things are happening there which shouldn't be. There is a loss of innocent life. The UN is agreeing to send more observers in. I think, I don't think they're necessarily very keen for people to see what's really going on there.
Thank you so much for that. That's Lucy Taylor on the line with us in Tanzania.